And it actually leads me to why I'm running. I am running because I can. In America, one of the beautiful things about this country is dynamism. That is where anybody, from any walk of life, from any station in life, can pursue their dreams, and yes, pursue the United States Senate. It's called American exceptionalism. I believe in it, I affirm it. I'm also running because I must. It is my biblical responsibility to do it. What do I mean? For unto whom much is given, much is required. I have been extremely blessed in my life. Good parents, good schooling, the best of life. I attended Duke University. I attended the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill School of Law. The best that this state can give us in education. So it is my biblical duty. It is also my social duty. Because every one of us must give back to our communities. We must prepare ourselves so when that moment comes to serve, we're prepared. That's what I have done. I have prepared myself, both educationally and socially. I have served in the North Carolina House of Representatives back in '94, and I was speaking to the gentleman who's running for the state senate, and I told him one of the issues that has to happen in this race, the state senate, is to remove the cap on charter schools, because it was I, along with my colleagues, who in 1994, I helped write charter school legislation. I co-sponsored it, and I shepherded it through the reconciliation process. For you see, I have been a Republican all of my adult life. I'm not someone who just came to the party, who switched parties, who was a front runner. No, I have served this party my entire life. I was a poll worker, a precinct captain. I ran for the State House in '92, and I was successful in '94. I have served this state and this party. Another reason I'm running is because, again, it's my social responsibility to do what we all must do, and that is participate in democracy. Lastly, the reason I am running is because we have heard, and when I say we, I mean my campaign, we have heard the people speak. We've heard, we've listened, and there is going to be a sea change coming up in November. We like to see it happen in May, because people are literally fed up with our government in Washington. They're frightened, they're disappointed in the direction the Obama administration and even Congress is taking us. Our campaign has heard that, and we're saying in this election, in May, we have an opportunity to reclaim our Senate. We have an opportunity to reclaim our government. I know Mr. Burr. Mr. Burr has served in D.C. for 16 years. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but what we Republicans must ask ourselves is, if we send Mr. Burr back to Washington, will anything change? Will things be different? That's the question we have to ask ourselves as Republicans, because we all think that our senator or our congressman is okay. But I submit to you that if things are going to change in Washington, we must change that body collectively. We must not owe allegiance to a particular man, in this case Mr. Burr, or based on some relationship we have with him. We must make the sacrifice to this country, to this state, and to our community to not have an allegiance to a man, but a commitment to our community. Because I firmly believe that if we are going to change the trajectory of our nation from where it's going under the Obama administration, we must start right here at home and change our senator. And I submit to you that I am of you, I am like you, I share the same values that you share. And we will not be taking a risk in sending me to Washington, because I am prepared to serve your interests, and it is with absolute humility that I ask you to support me to be a steward of your trust to serve in the United States Senate. So again, I thank you all for coming. And this is one of the few times that I have not had a time limit. And I'm actually sort of not comfortable with it. I was told we have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This is one of those times, but I can tell when I'm speaking too long. I'll look on your face and I'll know when to shut up and sit down. But let me share this with you, because along with responsibility, actually when serving, there comes some responsibility. I told you I served in the North Carolina House in 1994. I served from Asheville, North Carolina, Buncombe County. And I beat an 18-year incumbent. His mother had served in that seat for 25 years. There were people who did not know that that was not a Nesbitt seat, okay? There were people alive who didn't know a Nesbitt couldn't serve in that seat. And for my victory, ladies and gentlemen, I received scars. And in the mountains, political scars usually mean convictions. And I was accused in 1993 of stealing money from my client. The accusation came in 1997, right after my term was up, after the estate was closed, and it would be easy for me to tell you it was politically motivated. And it is so easy that I'm telling you it was. It was politically motivated. I have spent 14 years fighting those, and you have to understand that I was given an opportunity to do a plea bargain, but that's not who I am. Because if you're not guilty, don't plead guilty. And if you're not wrong, don't accept wrong. Because truth pressed to earth shall rise again, and no lie shall live forever. So that's I have to be upfront with you, because I don't know if Mr. Burr will send you mailers or whatever to that effect, but I want you to understand what the circumstances were. And so I ask you, do not sit in judgment, but actually stand with me, stand with us in our fight against the corruption that's not in Buncombe County, but up in Washington. That's where it most affects us. So that may be my cue to stop, and I'm okay with that. I am certainly okay with that. I didn't know, I'm certainly open to questions, ma'am. And you, yes, ma'am. How do I feel about term limits? In fact, every year that there is a political race, we have term limits. Now, if you're saying should there be a constitutional amendment for term limits, I'm actually not supporting that. And let me tell you why. Because we the people should not have to have a law imposing upon us the responsibility that we have at every election. That is, at the end of 6 years, we step up to the plate and we say, Representative, you have not served us well, and we vote them out. If you remember the Declaration of Independence, when Thomas Jefferson wrote, we reserve the right to disband our government. That's what he meant. At every 2 years, for congressmen, and every 6 years, we get to disband that present government, those collection of folks who serve us. So, with all due respect, I personally am not in favor of a constitutional amendment to impose limits, because that is our responsibility, that sacred duty for this democracy to vote every time. And so I will leave on this. I will say, though the numbers are small here, I implore you to do what is our responsibility as Americans and go out and spread the word, because I don't have 16 million like Mr. Burr, and I thought about that and I went, wow, think of what kind of economic development we could do in Warren County with 16 million, and yet he will spend that much, should I say, by the election. I tell you what, if I spend $5,000, I have exceeded my budget. And I've talked to a political expert and he says there's no way you can win. Well, he wasn't that blunt, but I read between the lines. But I tell you what, with faith in God and hard work, I believe that we will break the backs of campaigns that require large financing. We will change the course of this nation with grassroots efforts, and we can all rejoice that we have elected a Republican who truly reflects core Republican values. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, I represent that.